Hello everyone and welcome back to a bit of regional speculation for Planet Zoo. Today we're doing Europe and Asia. I mean, Europe's being covered briefly, but this is primarily the Asia episode. So let's not waste too much more time and get straight into this slightly longer video. I mean, depends on how snappy I make it, but we'll see. We're starting with the Asia Animal Pack, which focuses around all of Asia pretty much. Um, just ignore the brush cutter in the background. I can't really do much about that. But anyway, so we're starting off with the golden snub-nosed monkey, an iconic animal of China's highlands with its distinct blue face and orange coloration. They're found in taiga forests of the Central Asian highlands, feeding on a variety of scarce vegetation such as lichens, mosses, but more nutritional stuff is obviously better for their survival. And yeah, as another Chinese primate, well, actually, it would be our first Chinese primate in the game. It's probably the most iconic to choose from, as it is a very standout species. Sadly endangered due to habitat loss, but that's a trope with most animals these days. Onto the sloth bear, a very strange looking and bizarre member of the bear family. They use their large claws in methods of defense and for climbing, and their large lips allow them to form a suction around the holes of termite mounds, where they will use a vacuum to suck out termites from their mounds. As an iconic animal of India, I think it deserves a place in this pack. Then we come to the black buck, one of India's signature antelopes, and by far one of the most distinct antelopes, with some very obvious sexual dimorphism, where you have the males with their darker coloration, their cheek fluffs, and their large screw-like horns, and the females looking like a conventional antelope, pretty much. But these species would be great for plains exhibits, and I think would deserve a place in this pack also. Moving on to another member of the Central Asian Highlands group, we have the Tycoon, a distinct member of the sheep and goat family, which is one species but has 4 distinct subspecies. So you have the golden Tycoon, the Sichuan Tycoon, the Mishmi Tycoon, and the Bhutan Tycoon, all 4 of which could make it into the game, as all 4 are present in captivity. They do have their slight differences in horn shape and coloration, of course, but if selectable subspecies were to happen, which I really do hope they do, because that would be great for including several more subspecies into the game, without as much effort into creating a completely new animal. So Tarkin is an example of that. Next we have the Markhor, a wild goat species from the Himalayas, with the males sporting a very impressive set of horns that spiral outwards, much like the black buck's horns, but a bit larger, let's say. They also have a distinct mane of fur around their necks. And yeah, just a very cool looking animal that could make a very well-rounded addition to the Himalayas, as we really only have the snow leopard and red panda, to my knowledge, that represent the Himalayas currently. But the markhor would be a great addition. Speaking of highland animals, we also have the golden pheasant, a beautiful but groundfowl species, with the males expressing pretty much every color of the rainbow. You have gold, yellow, orange, red, blue, green. What are the other ones? Well, actually, the blue's indigo. So you got yellow, orange, red, indigo, green, magenta. Is that all of them? Maybe? I don't know. Either way, it's a very striking looking bird that could make a fine addition to the game. It would also be great for some Asian garden builds, as it can just wander around. Bringing us to our exhibit animal, we have the Chinese giant salamander, the largest amphibian in the world, growing to lengths of about, I think it's 3 meters, thereabouts. They are very big and almost fully aquatic, but of course they can move on land if they wanted to, but they really need more water than land. And this is an example of one of those exhibit animals that could be transitioned between habitat and exhibit. You could make a really large habitat for them, but you could also have them in like a large exhibit. If we got different exhibit sizes, the Chinese giant salamander would be perfect for that. And yeah, they're just a very cool amphibian that I could see coming to the game soon. And the final animal is the bearded vulture or lammergeier, a large bird of prey from the highlands of Asia, Europe, and parts of Africa. But they are striking due to their namesake, which is down to their little chin fluff of feathers under the beak. And yeah, they are a very striking bird of prey with different color variations. They come in red, they come in gold, they come in brown, white, black, all sorts of colors. Basically, just transition the colors of the largib into the lammergeier, and then you get it. Yeah, lammergeiers would be a really cool species to get. Now, moving on to the mini packs, we have Borneo. So Borneo is one of the largest islands in Indonesia, but I'm constricting these mini packs to only 4 animals each. So I picked 4 animals of Borneo and the following few mini packs that we have here. So we have the Borneo pygmy elephant, the smallest of the Asian elephant subspecies, existing in the north of Borneo in the Kalimantan region. Wait, no, is Kalimantan in... No, Kinabatangan. There we go. There's different regions to Borneo. I should just say north of Borneo and leave it at that. But they do exist in some areas of captivity. God damn it. The darn brush cutter. But yeah, if you can hear me, so okay. Jeez. Yeah, I can't do anything about that right now. I should probably just record this at a separate time. But yeah. Okay, now that the brush cutter's moved away a bit, yeah, just have to do a cut there. The Borneo elephant would make a fine addition to the Borneo mini pack. On to the next animal, my personal favourite crocodilian, the false gyral or Tomastoma, found on the Malay Peninsula, Sumatra, bit of Java and Borneo. This striking crocodilian, with its very orderly scoots along the back, has its cool colorations and just looks very distinct in general from most other crocodilians. And inhabiting the swamps and rivers of Borneo, I think it makes a fine addition too. Not much else to say really. I just like the pulse gharial, right? It's cool. Reticulated python is our next animal as the exhibit animal. It is found on several islands of Indonesia, the Philippines, and throughout much of Southeast Asia. It is the longest snake in the world, growing to about 9 meters in length. I mean, I don't know if there are any individuals that have grown further, but it was also the snake that portrayed Nagini in Harry Potter franchise. So just a little bit of fact there. Fun facts. Yeah. Um, then we come to the last animal of the Borneo mini pack, the rhinoceros hornbill. It is found on several other islands in Indonesia, but I think Borneo is a good place for it. Distinct with its brightly coloured casque on the head, white beak, and jet black coloration with the white rump. It is a perfect species to fly around the skies of Borneo and represent this pack. And like if we get aviaries, well, we technically already have aviaries, but I don't think we'd have walkthrough. But removing the path, we've got some decent aviaries. If we had them bigger, then woo. And if we had the option to change the shape, that would be great too. Like have circular aviaries. That would be awesome if we could just have modular bits of the aviary that we can just move out, stretch, and stuff. That would be the perfect scenario. Don't know if Frontier's working on that though, but who knows. Now onto the Sumatra mini pack, the next island in Indonesia that is giving a decent selection of animals. All these animals are actually pretty easy to make, so you won't be too surprised by their inclusions. I mean, one of them might need to be given a climbing animation set, but that's pretty much it. So we first have the Sumatran orangutan, the smallest of the orangutans, I think, unless that's the Tapanuli, but it is one of the most endangered of the three, with only around 8,000 or so in the wild. They are far less in number than the Bornean orangutan. But nonetheless, this striking species with its distinct beard should make an appearance in Planet Zoo in this pack. It's also very easy to make, but also critically endangered. We need more critically endangered representation in the game. Next up is the Sumatran rhinoceros, an animal that has existed in captivity previously, but it is also a very famous animal of Sumatra and would make a fine addition to the pack. Being the smallest rhino in the world, it is also one of the last living relatives of the woolly rhinoceros, if not the only living relative. Because I believe there's only the other two Asian rhinos are one-horned, and they're probably closer to Elasmotherium. But the Sumatran rhino, critically endangered species again, but would make a fine addition to the game. The third animal in the pack is the Sumatran tiger, the second most kept species in the subspecies in the world after the Siberian, and much of its captive population is pure, but that is for very good reason, as these guys are also critically endangered. Need to keep those numbers up, but given their captive representation, the Sumatran tiger should come to Planet Zoo, and with some of these species, it would give Frontier the opportunity to show what these species could look like with the updated fur textures and such. So the Sumatran tiger could look very different to the Bengal and Siberian. And same with the Sumatran orangutan. It could have hanging hair, for all I know. But I would like to see what that could look like. The last animal in the Sumatra mini pack is the Sunda pangolin, another critically endangered. Yeah, the whole Sumatra pack is critically endangered. But they are well known for their climbing abilities. So, using the regular Chinese pangolin rig, if they were to do climbing updates for some of the animals, pangolin should be one of the first that they should do. Then monitor lizards, of course. But pangolins, if we were to get the Sunda pangolin, then we'd have 2 pangolins, both of which should be able to climb. And the Sunda pangolin is also well known from much of Southeast Asia, so it would be great for some more Southeast Asian sections, whereas the Chinese pangolin is more for China-themed areas of your zoo. Now moving on to the Indian subcontinent animal pack. This area of Asia is just too diverse to not be given an animal pack. And it was going to be very hard to squeeze it into 4. So we have the first animal, the gaur, the largest of the bovines, very muscly. Like, it is a formidable animal, and males especially, with their distinct dewlap and hump on their back. They're even bigger than the current American bison, and the wild water buffalo too. But they also have some very nicely coloured stockings on their legs, so they would be very distinctly coloured bovine in the game, and would also be the biggest bovine in the game, as they are the biggest in real life. Next up, we have another leopard subspecies, the Sri Lankan leopard. So they are from, well, Sri Lankan. The Sri Lankan leopard. So they are, of course, from the island of Sri Lanka, which is just off the coast of India. And they are some of the largest leopards in the world. Not the largest, but comes pretty close. And just having a tropical leopard would be great. So if we were to get the African leopard, the Sri Lankan leopard, and another leopard subspecies later on in the video, we could have a tropical leopard, a grassland leopard, a desert leopard, and the taiga leopard, which is the Amur leopard. So covering all the major biomes there. Next animal we have is the lion-tailed macaque. Is an animal I know is being phased out of the American Zoo and Aquarium Association. I don't know why, but I guess, yeah. But it is endangered, so bit of representation in Planet Zoo would really help this species, as it is very distinct with its lion mane and lion tail. Because many animals that are named after lions are named because of the tail, not really because of the mane. So lions generally have like a tuft of hair at the end of the tail, and that is what these macaques also have. Next we have the nilgai, one of Asia's largest antelope, and a very distinct species with its grey coloration and built stature. It would also be great for some more Asian grassland species, as we have relatively few. Yeah, just a proper Asian safari is what we need. We need more Asian grassland animals to be able to make one. We can make an African safari with a click of your fingers, but an Asian safari needs a bit more. Did I say African or Asian? An African safari, click of fingers. Asian safari, you need to think a bit. But with the nilgai, the black buck, Sri Lankan leopard, that would be a bit more possible. Next, we have the fishing cat. It may be the second cat in the pack, but it is a very special cat, as they are very comfortable in water and hunt fish. So if we were to get like a fishing pool that I suggested in my tropical rainforest DLC, who remembers that? That was like first video of the channel. I mentioned that, and boy, how long ago that was. January, I think. But fishing cat nonetheless, if it were to be given a unique enrichment item, it would make it a much more distinct animal in the game, and a more distinct cat, as having more unique cats is what can keep people interested in Frontier, adding more feline species. Exploiting the unique aspects of an animal's behavior is good to keep them interesting. So fishing cat, even though it may look like a regular tabby, is special in that regard. It's also endangered, so consider that, please. Then we have the sambar deer, one of Asia's most famous deer species, and it's also famous for another reason, as it is the tiger's favorite prey. So wherever sambar are, there are usually tigers that feed on them. In the Indian subcontinent is the Bengal tiger. In Sumatra, the Sumatran tiger. Malaysia and Indochina, you have the Malayan tiger and the Indo-Chinese tiger. So the two species basically inhabit the same areas and interact with one another nonetheless. So it is also a very good species for the Asian safaris I've been talking about, as they live on ground. Yeah, you get the idea. And more deer are also welcome. Our exhibit animal is the king cobra. By far, my personal most requested exhibit animal, as it is the largest venomous snake and the longest venomous snake. And funny enough, they're not even a true cobra. Yeah, I learnt that. Actually, a few years ago. I learnt that a few years ago. They're not a true cobra, and their primary prey is other snakes. So it's probably good that exhibits, like the regular exhibits, you can't mix species because that would be bad. But this animal would be great for yeah, I mean, given that cobra statue something to symbolize, because we have a cobra statue and a cobra sign, yet we don't have an actual cobra. Even though it's not a true cobra, it's close enough. So, king cobra, definite. And our bird is the great hornbill, the largest of the hornbills that can, well, that can fly great distances. I don't know if ground hornbills can fly that far. They usually just walk, as they are ground hornbills, but the great hornbill is a distinct species also from the rhinoceros hornbill with a more yellow coloration and orange tip of the beak. And they have different casques, so yeah. It's also the number one bird I think of when I think of India, as they are found in the Western Ghats and along the Himalayas. So they could be great for having nature reserves. If we were to get free flying birds, like if you could just release birds and let them fly, great hornbill would be one I'd love to do that with in like a natural reserve situation. Yeah, very cool animal. Now we come to the Europe animal pack, and there are some clones, but they have the same reasoning that the others did. So first up, we have the chamois, a wild goat or sheep. Is it a sheep or a goat? A capron from the European highlands. There are different subspecies, but I just went for chamois in general. Selectable subspecies would be helpful in this regard. But yeah, they have unique tiny horns on their heads, which is strange for a wild goat species. They usually have very large, defined horns, but the chamois is an odd one out in that regard. And it would also be nice to get more mountain goats and just more members of the sheep and goat family in general, because we only have two. Next is the European hamster, a small rodent of the grasslands and temperate areas of Europe. It is also critically endangered due to habitat loss, replacing its wild fens and meadows with agriculture. But they are a really cute species, and we don't have a hamster. Everything's going to have a hamster, right? But no, it's critically endangered, so it needs that recognition to have people be more aware that even though it might seem common, like you'd think it's a hamster, it's going to survive nonetheless. It's actually a very fragile species and deserves lots of attention when it's on the brink. Another species that requires a lot of attention, even though it's got a rising population, is the Iberian lynx, another species of the lynx family, which is very similar in appearance to the Eurasian lynx, but with its distinct beard and longer tufts on their ears, they would make a fine addition to the game. And yeah, just their conservation relevance is enough. Like the Iberian lynx is also a majestic animal to admire. And yeah, it would add a bit more to the European environments that we can build, and just cover the grasslands of Europe and just the scrubland areas. Next, we have the wild boar, an animal most people are probably familiar with, as they are pretty much everywhere. Whether they be native or invasive, you've probably heard of this animal before. They are very big animals, especially the hogs, and yeah, they're found in the woodlands of Europe and several parts of Asia and along the Nile River, and are invasive on almost all continents other than the old world. So yeah, wild boar is a good species for a Europe animal pack, given its widespread range and its relevance to Europe in general. Next, we have the Eurasian brown bear, a species where Frontier could have another go at the brown bears, as the ones we currently have, I have to admit, they look a bit fat, and bears are not fat. They are they're strong animals. They have to look strong. They're athletic. They can run faster than a person, and you could probably make them look lighter with the right fur shader. And the Eurasian brown bear would be great for that because they actually have some very nice looking fur. And yeah, it would just be cool to see in general, as then you'd have a European bear to work with in your European zoos without having to use either a Himalayan brown or a grizzly bear. This is what clone animals are good for, it's because they have niches that they can fill. Then we have the Barbary macaque. Though it is introduced to Europe, it was introduced back in the World War II days to Gibraltar in Spain. They are native to much of North Africa, but it is a unique animal in Europe and doesn't really affect the environment too badly, I don't think. It also spices up the roster in this pack, giving us a primate, which is fairly uncommon for a Europe DLC. So Barbary macaque would be great to see, as they're also the only macaque in Africa too. So you could get 2 wins there. Next, we have the Western capercaillie, a distinct-looking ground fowl from the boreal forest and some temperate regions across Europe, with the male's distinct fan of feathers. They resemble a peacock in that manner, but are not any any similar. Don't have any similarities in any other regard. They also have a distinct sound and display, so it would be cool to hear that and see that in the game. They're just a personal preference for me as for a bird from Europe, as they're just a cool bird. They look cool. Then our exhibit animal is one many of you are probably not familiar with. However, you could first say, oh, it's an axolotl. It is not an axolotl. It is called an olm and dwells in the caves of southwestern Europe, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in some other countries there. But they are much more distinct from axolotls given their length and the fact that they are totally blind. Yeah, and we don't really have too many cave animals, so it'd be great to get an animal that lives in caves, because they're very distinct in that regard, and it'd be great to have another fully aquatic amphibian, as they wouldn't be able to go on land. Oh no, they are entirely aquatic. Now we have the Middle East mini pack, which will focus on several animals from the region. Well, 4 animals. I say several, it's 4. But our first animal is the Arabian oryx, the smallest of the oryxes, and has had a great conservation success story. Once highly endangered, has now been redistributed to much of its ancestral lands and has made a full recovery. Yeah, it's just one of those animals that has had a complete reverse trajectory towards extinction and is now towards least concern, as It is currently vulnerable with an increasing population. Yeah, and it would be cool to have a white oryx. Look at that. It just stands out against the sand. Next is the Arabian leopard. So this is that desert leopard I was talking about. They are critically endangered, because of course they are. But they are well known from the Middle East, and I'm saving the sand cat for the Sahara, because I plan on making a Sahara animal pack when we come to Africa. But yeah, the Arabian leopard is a distinct subspecies of the leopard, being the smallest of the genus, and yeah, it would give us the opportunity to build a desert habitat for a leopard. The veiled chameleon is one of the only chameleons outside of Africa, found in montane woodlands of southwestern Saudi Arabia, along the coast of the Red Sea. And yeah, just getting a chameleon finally would be brilliant. And veiled chameleons are a very intrinsic example. Wait, no, that's not the word. What does intrinsic mean? I just need to double check, because I was intrinsic. Oh, yeah, that is not the word I was going for. Damn it. Intricate, that's the word I was trying to go for. They're an intricate species with their distinct colors. I'm tired, alright? um, and the bird for the pack is the Egyptian vulture. A myth, really. They are held highly in the folklore of Egypt and the Middle East, and several other parts of the Old World, as they are an Old World vulture, but also a very distinct vulture, as they have yellow faces, yellow feet, and white coloration in their feathers. And it would just make a fine addition to the game for a bird. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. They're cool. Plant Zoo Frontier will tell more than I am, because I didn't really want to have to write out a whole script for the video personally, but yeah. Now we come to the Japan mini pack. So these are 4 animals from Japan. I had to be very selective. I couldn't pick the Japanese giant salamander, because I already picked the Chinese giant salamander, and having both of them just seems somewhat conflicting. But I don't know. I could have included it. I've included a 3rd tiger for the game and a 4th leopard potential. So first animal is a Japanese raccoon dog, or tanuki, a distinct-looking canid with very fluffy fur, especially in the winter, and yeah, is held highly in folklore in Japan, and many people want the tanuki and would be a fun species to see, as another canid too. And most people don't really want too many more canids, or any in general, but there are unique little species here and there, and the tanuki is one of them. Then we come to the Japanese sorrel, a wild goat species, or wild caprin species, so sheep or a goat, whichever one it is, from mountain regions of Japan and some other forested areas in the archipelago. So they have very long legs for this sort of animal, and yeah, like you can see their legs are long in proportion to their body. Yeah, and just an odd species in appearance, but odd species are sometimes the most interesting to have in DLCs, because, to be honest, the South America pack is very interesting due to the giant anteater, because it is just that weird of an animal. Then we come to the Saiga deer, a species that could coexist with the Japanese macaque as it does in real life, and make a nice addition to some Japanese gardens, as it is a very pretty looking deer. Then the last animal is the mandarin duck, the most colourful duck in the world. At least I think it is. It certainly looks it. And it is from Japan and some other regions of Asia, depending on the season. And just having a very colourful duck would be very cool for our ponds, themed after East Asia. And our last pack is the Philippines mini pack. Couldn't leave the Philippines out. They have four unique animals here, and let's take a look at them. So we have the Visayan warty pig, another swine that could be added into the game, but would be a really good pick as it is critically endangered due to habitat loss and hunting. And yeah, they have a very unique sort of white stripe on their nose. Well, their snout, I should say, not on their nose. But yeah, they're found in many zoos around the world. And it'd be great to represent the Philippines with a unique little piggy. Then we have the Philippine tarsier, a unique type of primate. The tarsiers are found throughout Southeast Asia, Philippine tarsier being one of the most famous. Though in real life they don't do too well in captivity. I think with a bit of artistic license, a Frontier could think of something to balance out the tarsier's needs in Planet Zoo. And it's just nice to have a bit more of some freaky looking animals in the game, just more unique primate appearances. Our bird is the Philippine eagle, a beautiful bird of the Philippines, also called the monkey-eating eagle because, you guessed it, it eats monkeys. Threatened to deforestation, of which most of their habitat has been removed. So it's a very vulnerable species, and its inclusion into Planet Zoo would certainly be appreciated. And the last animal of the video is the Philippine sailfin lizard. So this is an animal that looks somewhat similar to the basilisk, as it has ray skin along its back and tail. And yeah, just another aquatic reptile would be very fun to see. And it looks like a dragon. Like, come on, what more do you want from a lizard? Other than it to look like a dragon. But that is it for the video. I did not trim that trailer down at all. But yeah. So what do you think of these animals for Europe and Asia? I am very tired right now. But yeah, I did this whole thing today, and it wore me out, and I thought, why not record? Just get it out of the way, because, yeah, life's busy, so I try to get as many videos out as possible to record ahead of time to keep you guys entertained to the best of my ability, while I have life to attend to. So, if you enjoyed this little bit of speculation, do leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next speculation video. Will it be Australia, or will it be Africa, or will it be Antarctica? Discord notification. Well, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.